Joining us now is Fox News media analyst Howard Kurtz and Fox News digital politics editor Chris Stirewalt. So, Stirewalt, let me start with you. So now Trump has won Florida.
Yep.
He's won Illinois.
Yep.
Missouri's still too close to call, although he had a lead there, according to, whatever
it's
percentage,
close.
22% in.
Right.
Lost Ohio.
Right.
But could he, if he does very well in Illinois, and if he wins Missouri, could he make up all the delegates he lost in Ohio to emerge tonight as the super victor on course to 1-2-3-7?
I don't want to nerd out, but basically the way that
why should tonight be any different than any other night?
Why should it be different than any other night? Yes, quite so. The way Illinois works is it's mostly by congressional district. So what we're looking for now is, as the downstate starts to come in, as the more conservative part of the state starts to come in, and there's more vote coming in for Ted Cruz, can he take some of these delegates away? Because I promise you this, if Donald Trump rides herd across Illinois tonight, if he kills it and wins all those congressional districts and does all that, then this is a blowout win for him, because remember, that's, I think, 69 delegates.
Yes,
that's enormous.
69.
So that's big for him. But I would also say this. You see now tonight the hardening resistance, the never Trump, the hardening of that resistance.
Where?
You see it in how those splits are going, not just in some of the counties, but in the states. And you see how in North Carolina, for example, Cruz's performance in North Carolina, his delegate split there. His performance in Missouri and his delegate split there. You can see how hard it would be for Trump to win this outright if this trend continues. And you head to a convention with Trump in first place, with a lead on Cruz, but Cruz in a clear second place, with Kasich behind him, and then Rubio still holding some cards.
Howie, what do you see?
Well, if Trump had won both Florida and Ohio, we'd be saying this race is over. With John Kasich doing what governors are supposed to do, winning his home state, it still looks like a very big night for Trump. Delegate math aside, Cruz has yet to put a W on the board. We're still waiting, of course, on Missouri.
In states where he fought hard.
Absolutely. But to take just a little bit of a step back, Marco Rubio was a guy who many in the press thought somehow would emerge as the establishment alternative to Donald Trump. He was on the cover of Time magazine as a Republican savior. Gave a graceful exit speech tonight, but now he's out of the race. That means we are essentially down to two anti-establishment candidates after starting with 17. Donald Trump, of course, the billionaire who many in the Republican establishment are desperate now to stop. And Ted Cruz, although he's the United States Senator, is running against the Washington cartel, many of whom don't like him. And so that tells you something about where the electorate is this year, that these are the two plausible nominees now for the GOP.
So how are Donald Trump and Ted Cruz looking at John Kasich right now, Chris? I mean, what role exactly does he play at this point?
Well, the role he plays now is going to be the enormous annoyance to Ted Cruz. He is going to be John Kasich, who has this sort of avuncular way about him, is going to be Ted Cruz's annoying uncle, who is going to keep Ted Cruz from locking up these numbers, because now with a win in Ohio, he'll keep rolling on. They'll get to Wisconsin, which is a state that Cruz could win, and Kasich will say, no, I think I'll take some of these delegates down here around Milwaukee.
Does he not take any from Trump?
No.
He takes from Cruz.
No, there's no. I don't think the Kasich-Trump.
Well, because they're both.
High.
They can be a little bit more moderate on certain positions, whereas Ted Cruz is this diehard conservative.
They both can poach some Democrats, but when you hear the tone and you hear the style of Kasich, which is love and tears and wonderfulness and the weeping of the joy, versus the Donald Trump, these are very different spaces.
Yeah.
So what Kasich will continue to do is deny Cruz the chance to be the one true heir to the traditional Republican Party. He will annoy the heck out of him, and he'll try to force this thing back.
Maybe it was all that crying and love stuff that was so irritating to Ted Cruz.
It's
the avuncular guy,
exactly.
Or it's like it picks his earwax or something like. I don't know.
Gosh.
Everybody's had that uncle. Come on. Howie, there's no overstating, however, what a big night this is for Donald Trump. I mean, he stole Florida away from the hometown. He was winning all along, but Marco Rubio should have won that state by according to many experts, and yet he won. He performed well in Illinois. He won Illinois. He's performing well in Missouri, and there's no question it's a huge night for him.
Yeah, Florida wasn't even close in the end. And we've gone through wave after wave with Donald Trump of saying this intemperate remark, this alleged misstep is going to hurt him. And so we went through the last few days, the Chicago rally where there was violence. Many people thought Trump had mishandled it. Many people criticized his rhetoric. Doesn't seem to have hurt him much at all. He won Illinois. And Ted Cruz's whole selling point at this point is that he is the only person who has repeatedly beaten Donald Trump, but he hasn't done it much lately and hasn't done it tonight.
So how does Donald Trump unite the party if he wants to increase his margins from 40% to over 60%, which he might need, between 50 and 60%, to go forward and win this outright.
We have seen hints repeatedly, particularly in the last debate, where Trump acts more presidential, moderates his tone, doesn't talk about little Marco and lying Ted. And I think you see him reaching out more to the establishment, some members of whom are now looking to make their peace with him. But now the question is whether or not he has the discipline to stick to that with basically Ted Cruz as his main competitor. It's pretty clear these two guys don't like each other very much.
And Ted Cruz said this week that he has absolutely zero interest in being Trump's vice presidential candidate. Gentlemen, great to see you.